The last 24 hours have seen a severe reversal for the stock markets and cryptocurrencies, but the king of them all, Bitcoin, has been holding up. After a quick flash crash down to 63.5, it's recovered relatively well. So why is everything down? And when is it going to recover? Is this the crash that the markets have been waiting for, or is it just another test until we see new all-time highs? That's what we're looking at in today's video. Bitcoin has had a good little bounce of $63,500 to the downside, the 50% level. Any sort of moves lower than 63 would take out these support levels that it's been putting in. It'll take out this 50% level of the entire correction range, so that March to July range, which is a very important support level. If that were to happen, there's still a little support down here at 61. Those tops there at about 59, which we've talked about on the channel, and reasons why we would not want to see the price hang out down at these levels for too long. And finally, 56 through to 53.5. So basically that would be the final support zone there, 53.5 to 56. Ideally, nothing under that level for this sustained move to the upside. Ideally, nothing below 59 either, but it could test it. And in the most healthiest sense of the correction, 61 through to 63.5. That would be the worst case scenario for the quicker consolidation and move to higher prices. Bitcoin has been under the March top now for 134 days. So price support above 63,500 is basically the best of the best. Price consolidating above 69,000 is the goal here for Bitcoin. 134 days, as I said, that was part of the 3-day down signal that we looked at back in March. That has helped us identify that this was going to be a pretty tricky period for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. To Ethereum and Solana. Plus, I have something for you guys with XRP. But don't worry, even if you don't hold XRP, I think this is a fantastic analogy to understand your altcoins and how they can pump and dump, and in some cases, go absolutely nowhere, like in the case of XRP. But let's just first start with ETH and Sol. Over the last 24 hours, Ethereum's had a pretty significant dump here. You've got about nearly 5% from the open to the close, and then the entire day itself going from 33 down to just under 31, 7.5%. Ideally, closes above 3,200 are the key now. And without that, well, then ETH looks a little bit weaker here. You've got the lower highs forming. The base here is still at 28, so it hasn't broken down yet. Right now, it's in the weaker side of that 50%. So that you can see right through here, 3,400, top to bottom. This is the weaker half. And even in this recent move up, it's now, at least for this recent close, it's in that weaker half as well. So it's starting to put itself in a much weaker position than something like Solana. And you can definitely see it here on the ETH versus Solana chart as well. Basically, ETH has been going down, and if ETH goes down, that means Solana is getting stronger. If this chart is going up, then ETH is getting stronger versus Solana. Both could be going up in USD value, but if this chart is going up, then ETH is making bigger gains than Solana. If this chart is going down, both could still be going up against their USD value, but Solana is going to be making bigger gains than Ethereum. That leads us over to Solana. And although Solana also dropped off 3.5% yesterday, that low came in above the 50% of $163. That 50% is the correction range. So pretty much the top that it's put in for this cycle, $210 down to the low here at 117. Slice it through the middle, it's in the stronger half. So you can start to see how strength and weakness play out using this specific Gann 50% tool. This is still holding up relatively strong. Those lows are in. The price is still above 50%. How does it look against Solana and Bitcoin as well? Well, it's got a couple of days left here, a few more days until the weekly close. The 50% level is at 25754. So a close above that would be one of the highest closes it has done in this entire bull market thus far. Last week's close was pretty damn good, above all those 50%, and it was probably like the 5th highest close in this entire bull market. So ideally, anything above roughly 2450 would be the key level here for Solana versus BTC to continue with that strength in this bull market as one of those stronger altcoins. Now, this whole run up is getting a little bit drawn out. I've got the previous move here from 2020 before basically everything took off, and things were looking relatively dire all the way into that low. Solana versus Bitcoin went down 90%. That was 16 weeks of basically just straight down into that low. But then out of nowhere, it started to pick up. Volume increase as well. That's what this is down here. Lots of green weeks, higher highs, higher lows. And by the time it got to another peak, that was 25 weeks from that previous peak. Now, until it broke out, that took another 5 weeks from that point. So that was 25 weeks from top to top in this move against Bitcoin value. And then it took another 5 weeks. So 30 weeks in total from top until it broke out into a new all-time high against BTC while Bitcoin was also going up. This was March 2021. So I'm not losing hope in the markets. I'm looking at time frames here, and maybe if you are losing hope, just check out these time frames. If things start to get drawn out past this sort of 25, maybe even 30 weeks, 30 weeks would take us into October of this year. So basically Q4. There it is. That's a number. That's a time frame that we've been looking at. If things start to get drawn out past that and you're not seeing any sort of base, at least base forming, or maybe in the best case, breaking to new all-time highs, that might be a sign that the coin is not going to do too well in this next stage, should there be a next stage. So I'm just looking at these timeframes as they line up similarly to last cycle. Speaking of timing and how these markets move up and then move down, I've got a fantastic analogy for you here, and XRP does a great example of demonstrating this. So if you are into exercising, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but you would understand that you can have a max effort push and then you need time to recover. So if you're going to use these, the max effort push and then recovery analogy, think of it like this. The numbers on top here, use them as minutes, and the numbers on the bottom, use them as minutes as well. So basically it's all minutes. So what you're looking at is a max effort push to the upside and then time to recover. And in the case of XRP, that's what we're looking at here. Look at this. You got 4 minutes to the upside, 1 minute down, 2 minutes to the upside. So you're putting this max effort and 1 minute down. So what I'm using this for is to identify what this market or how this market works, and if there is any more time left in the move. A lot of people hang on to hopes and dreams that their crypto is going to move and continue to move forever. You can't move forever. That goes for everything. A market can't move forever. Eventually, it needs to have time to rest and recover, and then start its next move. And that can be on smaller timeframes and larger timeframes. So you could look at it in terms of one whole session itself. So maybe we're looking at the session from the low to the peak, and that's it. There's the whole low to the peak, low to peak there. And then basically you've got a bigger recovery time, top to bottom, wherever that might be. Have to have a look there, probably somewhere around here. So the absolute low, and that would be another major recovery time. So you can see here, 57, call it 57 minutes to the upside, and then to the downside, how long did it need to recover? You can see 61. So basically it did an hour's work and took an hour's rest. And so you can get to these points here and realize, well, this thing is probably not going to push that much further. Maybe I should take some friggin' profits. That is how I like to use the time frames, because as much as we can hope and dream that the coin's never going to come down, remember, the markets are made up of people. Eventually people get exhausted. They don't have any more money left. They just hope that it's going to keep going up, and it doesn't. So in terms of this analogy, I like to use it because I can see, well, what is the longest stint that it could do in a max effort before it needs to recover? When you start to see the numbers here, this is just all pure data from the chart. I'm not making anything up. 4, 2, 4, 5, and this is on a weekly chart, so essentially in weeks, but just as an analogy, I like to use it in minutes. Okay, can only do 4 up, had to have a rest 1 week. You could do 2 up, had to have a rest 1. 4, 3. And I'm using this because this is one of the major cycle low points. You can see that is the major cycle low point. And then the market went up again from that in a bigger time frame. From that peak, then it came down for a long time. Then it went up for a long time from that low. And guess what? It was roughly about another 50 to 60 bars, which, as this analogy, as I'm using in the analogy, we're calling it an hour's workout. Then it had to rest. So it came down into this bottom here at 51. So maybe it was a shorter rest before it goes on its next 50 to 60 minute workout, which, as we know, is in weeks. So 50 would take it out to about June 2025, and 60 would take it out to about September, maybe in October of 2025. So quarter 3 to quarter 4, maybe XRP doesn't break down from 39. Maybe one day XRP, maybe this is its calling. It's getting, body ready for our summer down here in Australia, and it's just going to take off to $10 or $500, whatever it might be. It's possible, but looking at its past performance, there's plenty of overhead resistance here for it to get quite lazy. Use this analogy on any of your altcoins. I greatly enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section if you did as well. And at that point, I think I'll sign off from here. Have a fantastic weekend.